I didn't tell anyone about it because to tell anyone you were getting paid to make videos in your bedroom for the internet meant you were doing pornography. Now you can say you're a content creator, and I think most people understand what that means.
This week on Influence, reinventing yourself on the internet again and again and again and again. Greetings, internet travelers. Welcome back to Influence with me, Matt Silverman. Thanks for hanging out one more week on this podcast. It's the show about internet creativity, online communities, the people and the groups of people, the individuals and the collectives that make the stuff that's worth interneting. And, as we've established many times before, you've got your e-commerce, right? I think millions of years ago, we did a trivia segment on this show about the very first transaction on the internet. And I think it was weed. I think it was like DARPA scientists selling weed to like other universities. I'm pretty sure that was what it was. Something like that. Then you've got your pornography, right? That's the second bucket. And then the third bucket, and I'm going to say it's one of the two main reasons I got on the internet. One is video games. Okay, that's what keeps me around here. Number two, though, we call it the lulls. It's the laughs, dare I say the comedy, the things, the people, the videos, the podcasts that make us laugh. And we need them now more than ever. And my guest today has been making the internet laugh since 2006, maybe earlier. We're gonna find out. I got to ask her about this. Truly one of the OGest YouTubers that I've ever met or come across. Dare I say, she's one of the pioneers of the comedic vlog style. And I think her influence is widely felt across internet and YouTube culture today. She is a comedian. She's a vlogger. She's an improviser. I got to ask her about this too. A podcaster, a best-selling author. Leave some shit for the rest of us, man. And a cancer survivor. Okay, we're going to talk about that. She's very public about that thing, and I would like to know more. You know her. You love her. It's Grace Helbig. Welcome to Influence. Hello.
Hi. Oh my God, that's so stupid. I love it.
We film before a live studio audience. They're always here, and they're
eager. They're passionate. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
How have you been? What's new?
How have I been? I've been good. I've been worse in the last couple of years. You heard about the cancer thing. So
I've heard some
honestly,
things.
I'm doing a lot better than I was. Can't complain.
Very good. We'll talk about that a little bit later.
Yeah.
The thing I ask all my guests at the top of the show, when you meet regular people, not online people, not extremely online people, and they're like, oh, hey, nice to meet you. What do you do for a living? How do you explain it?
Well, now it's way easier. Now
everyone says that. Every guest says that.
Absolutely. Because like what you were saying in the beginning, the pornography of it all. When I first started making videos and like professionally, I literally getting paid to make videos in 2007, 2008. I didn't tell anyone about it because to tell anyone you were getting paid to make videos in your bedroom for the internet meant you were doing pornography.
Nice.
And so that was impossible to explain. I think I told everyone that I was, doing comedy is the blanketed sort of thing. Now you can say you're a content creator, and I think most people understand what that means. So you don't have to do the overly contextualizing what you do, which is in the beginning how it used to be. Like, I make internet videos and they're like little vlogs and it's a YouTube thing and it's whatever. You talk about it and you like talk about it with your eyes down, not making eye contact. And now it's like it's an industry. It's a booming industry.
And every person you meet under the age of 17 is like, oh, you're a YouTuber?
Yeah.
You're a YouTuber?
I remember when I first heard in like, I don't know, 2010, 2012, that high schoolers were being polled and the number one job that they wanted was to be a YouTuber. And I was like, whoa, this is bigger than I can really understand it.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Yep. All right, we're going to run the gamut of the before times and the middle times and the current times. I'm very excited to talk about all of it.
Yeah.
But so you mark time, 2007-ish, you are beginning to do this professionally. You are making a living, or at least starting to.
Mm-hmm.
But before that, what did you think you wanted to be when you grew up? What did you go to school for as a kid, a teenager? What were your ambitions then?
I wanted to do something creative and I wanted to do something comedic. I went to college and I got a contemporary arts degree. I started in communications and then I found this loophole where I could my school was a, general liberal arts college, so it didn't have concentrations in like writing necessarily, and that's I wanted to do writing, I wanted to do screenwriting specifically.
Okay.
And so I kind of was able to shift my program into more writing classes rather than all of the theater classes that were kind of offered. I knew I didn't want to be a stagehand. So I was trying to move into the writing direction. And then I took a video editing class, which I really enjoyed. And the
what
first
software? What year?
Sorry,
I don't want
to tape, baby.
Really?
Yeah, my very first editing class was a tape to tape.
I don't want to put an age on you necessarily, unless
I'm
you're
39 years old.
Okay, you're I'm sure your Wikipedia says. So
yeah, it's all out there.
We're roughly the same age. So tape though, back in.
So that was my first editing class in like 2005 was tape to tape, and then from there was Final Cut. So because tape to tape was getting phased out anyway, but they wanted us to learn it in like the editing 101 class. So we had some scope, I guess, of the editing process. And also I appreciate it because there is such little room for error on tape to tape did force you to think in very clear terms about what you wanted to create as a project. And so then the second editing class I took was a Final Cut it was the first time I saw an iMac, and I was like, this is an incredible creature. And my editing teacher had all of us, the students, I think there was maybe like, 12 or 15 of us, sign up for YouTube accounts so that we could upload our class projects and share them with the class.
Hold the phone though.
Yeah.
What year?
2006.
YouTube launched in 2005.
Right.
Just
so this
for
is
context.
Like, I didn't know. I thought it was like an intercollegiate video website. I had no idea. Again, the scope.
I thought it was a homework website.
Truly. Yeah. She was like, register for this website, upload your projects.
God bless her. Yeah.
Yeah. And then that's how so the very first videos on my channel, which I think are hidden now because of copyright, because a lot of them just had music that I can't use now, were all of my editing projects from like 2006, 2007. So yeah, that's when I first got introduced to YouTube and then started to see the people on YouTube, the creators on YouTube, and this like wild world of seemingly random people just putting whatever they wanted on the internet. And it was so accessible that it was like intoxicating to me that I was like, I can't believe not everyone is on that. Like it was still kind of secret too, which made it even more fun because it felt a little private and a little like sneaky and scandalous, but completely accessible. So myself and my college roommate at the time, who was wanting to be a professional editor and did work in the editing field afterwards, she and I got really into starting to make these little vlogs. We saw people making vlogs. I saw a jump cut for the first time.
Yes.
Blew my mind.
Do you recall who were your influences online at the time?
Well, I remember seeing the first female vloggers I saw were these two females called Beth and Val. And I don't even think they were on YouTube. They might have been on like Funny or Die or something.
Right. Someone else told Justin TV. right?
Yeah, something like
was
that.
Contemporaneous with this. I was not fully invested in online video at that time. I came up to it a little bit later.
Yeah, they were the first people I saw just like talking into their eyesight camera, making funny commentary and using jump cuts to cut through the video. And I was like, this is so fun to watch. This goes against all the narrative rules of editing that I've learned in this editing class.
You're literally coming out of college being like, don't do this, never do this. And then you go on YouTube and they're like, whatever,
do whatever
man.
you want. Do whatever you want. Cut it up however you want. And I was just so into that because it was just like such an opportunity to be silly and to break rules. And then the YouTubers that I started to see, Michael Buckley. Who was hosting like his own little talk show. I saw Phil DeFranco doing news. I saw Wheezy Waiter and Community Channel doing silly, humorous vlogs. And when I saw them, I was like, that's like it. That's really what calls to me. And I thought the way they developed their style and their tone was just so fun and funny and clever. It was so clever. And so I was really influenced by those types of vlogs. And I was just enamored by the space in general. The onslaught of beauty gurus was like unbelievable to see, just these young women doing their makeup that I felt so like different from, but also like similar to at the same time of like desire to share something that I like. So the community itself and like the fact that it wasn't this like glossy acting, right? Like it wasn't Hollywood, and it was that part of it made it so much more exciting to me.
For our entire lives, it was like funny things come from the television. And in order to be on the television, you need cameras and crews and Hollywood. And then here's people like making us die laughing from their webcam.
Yeah. Like I was taught, and for the first, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 years of making content, still it was under the belief that I had to be chosen by someone else in Hollywood to be validated in my goodness for entertainment.
Right.
And YouTube was like, come on, it's all yours.
So in the early days for you, what was the interplay in terms of the goals? Meaning, were you dabbling in online video with the hope of being discovered by the gatekeepers at Hollywood? Or did you feel like there was because like no one was making money?
Right.
This was
2007, 2008, no one was making money. Right after I graduated college in 2007, my roommate and I moved to Brooklyn, and we started a channel called Grace and Michelle, and we made little vlogs. We had a rule that they weren't going to be longer than 2 minutes each, and the
max upload length at that time was probably 3 to 5 minutes.
Really?
Max.
Yeah.
I don't remember, but I that would be my assumption.
We had just seen at the time that was kind of the standard of attention span for everyone.
Sure.
So we didn't go longer than 2 minutes. It kind of chronicled in a funny way, like our moving to Brooklyn and our day-to-day life there. I started doing improv at the People's Improv Theater.
Oh,
so I was
cool.
Performing there.
Yeah, that was right around the corner from where I used to work, and we would see shows there here and there.
Yeah, it was honestly an incredible community to be part of just like such great artists to be in the mix with, and to have a place to go and express myself in front of people like multiple times a week was just.
Were you taking classes and learning the craft, or were you just fucking around?
During college, I had taken the classes and I interned there, and I got on a house team, and then I started performing weekly there. And through the theater, I got an audition for a web series called Bedtime Stories. Okay. And it was with a channel called My Damn Channel.
Yeah, I didn't remember Bedtime Stories, but I would like to talk about My Damn Channel as an arc of your career. So please continue.
So I was performing improv regularly. I had gotten a manager through performing improv. Okay. So I was able to start going on auditions in the city. I was waiting tables. And Michelle and I were making little internet videos when we could, just for the fun of it, and just for the excitement of like, oh, there's people watching. Like, this is wild. It took so much legwork to get 10 people to come to the People's Improv Theater to watch comedy, but we could get 10, even 100 people to watch us on the internet.
Wow, look at that. That's really cool.
And so, but I was still under the impression that I had to go out and audition, and that was going to be the road to traditional success. Right. And that these little internet videos were just for fun. It's just like a silly little thing. And then I got this audition for this web series. I booked this web series, and it ended up being for this website called My Damn Channel that was hosting and creating original music and comedy content. And after the series went up, it was like, I don't know, it was a fine series, but it didn't break the internet in any way.
But did they say, please do this? Or did they just say, we love you, do whatever you want?
So they brought me in for a meeting, and I was like, what is this going to be about? I don't know. Did I do a bad job? And the CEO named Rob, he was like, so I saw your Grace and Michelle YouTube channel. And that was like the first time someone in real life had seen our secret internet life. And I was like, so embarrassed. So like, oh no, oh my God. And he was like, with the rise of, I don't even think vlogging was a word that people use, video blogging, that people were doing. They were looking for a host for mydamchannel.com, like a single person, 2-camera, vlog style, and they wanted to see if I wanted to experiment with that. And I was like, you're going to pay me to make silly little internet videos? Oh my God.
I'm already doing that? Yeah.
Yeah. And so it was a 3-week trial period, created a series called Daily Grace. I made 5 videos a week, Monday through Friday, from my apartment.
And was it like, hey, please talk about pop culture, or was it anything you wanted to do?
It was, the primary objective was to talk to the audience about what was new on the website. So if there were new episodes of Wayne Days, David Wayne had a series there. Yeah. If there was a new this or a new that, I was supposed to be directing in whatever way I wanted, in whatever silly way I wanted, an audience to go watch those things. And then on the days that there wasn't something new to promote, I could do whatever I wanted. So it was like creative freedom like I've never had before.
Love that, yeah.
But it was also...
with the security of being paid,
it was
to
like
do an experiment.
I'm really good at doing homework assignments. And so it was like this homework assignment that every day I had to make a video. It was incredible. And I couldn't believe it. And I was so in this creative, generative space of like doing improv so regularly that I was like, I have ideas and they won't stop flowing. So it sort of, for the first 2 years, I was making videos every day, shooting them, editing them, uploading them, but only to My Damn Channel's website, because they were trying.
They were hosting the video?
Yeah. So for the first 2 years, they lived only on My Damn Channel's website. I was still allowed to like do the Grace and Michelle thing. But
on
then,
YouTube.
In 2010 is kind of when we realized like, oh, an audience is on YouTube and it's really hard to get them off of YouTube. So let's put Daily Grace on YouTube. And that's when it kind of really took off.
Yeah. Many listeners probably know this, but just for context, like putting video on the internet back then was a Herculean task, nearly impossible. And here comes a website that became owned by Google that's like, yeah, upload whatever you want. We'll host it for free. It's all good.
Yeah.
And it was revolutionary. And as Grace was just saying, like audience moving to the platform where anything goes and creators could do whatever they want and host it for free. Like it was imperative that web hosts would kind of shift to a YouTube strategy at that time. And it sounds like they did.
Yeah, there was, you had your college humors, you had your Funny or Dies that were all kind of in the zeitgeist at the time for people to go and watch comedy videos. But there was a sense that Daily Grace belonged on YouTube with the environment of the way the creators, and I was creating content like a YouTuber.
In that style, yeah.
But putting it on a different hosting platform. So once we moved Daily Grace over to YouTube, I sort of streamlined it and created these. days of the week that were thematic that I hadn't been doing before. So it really created a very clear format for the show that made it easier for me to produce, that made it, I think, easier for an audience to connect with. And that really, I think, put me in the creator pool that was emerging at that time.
Right. I'm also realizing how tremendous it is that your name was in the channel. You know, like it wasn't like the damn channel show hosted by this person.
Right.
You were the channel, and that was like,
I mean,
big.
Every video had a bug in the corner that said "My Damn Channel" on it. So it was
but your face is the face.
Yeah, and that was the idea, to make it as authentic as possible, to make it as, I mean, it really was just me at home making these videos every day. So I was operating like a tried and true YouTuber at the time, just under the contract of another website.
Was this website owned by another media company? Did it ladder up to some larger company, or was it just like some guys?
It was a few guys that had come. Rob had come from VH1, and so he had produced a lot of music content for them over there, and so he had a lot of contacts in the comedy and music world, and he really believed in the power of the internet. And that was the first time that I heard someone in a suit talking about how important the internet was going to be for content. And I don't even think I really understood it at the time, but I was excited that someone was talking about it, because I was living in New York. I didn't have cable. So my primary form of entertainment was YouTube. So I was making things for myself that I'd want to watch if I wasn't me at the time.
Right.
And I think a lot of people at that time were finding YouTube as their primary source of entertainment.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you are now, as you said, you're emerging with this cohort of OG / maybe the second wave of YouTube creators?
Yeah, I don't really consider myself in that very first wave, because I remember seeing the Lisa Novas and the Shay Carls, and I remember seeing them create this Maker Studios and those sort of tentpole things that really sort of changed and developed the industry at the time. And Smosh and things like that, and Rhett and Link, that were establishing themselves, and I felt like I was kind of drafting off of the way they were carving out the space.
Right.
And yeah, it was a very exciting time, because it also was just, I had been in a space of auditioning where it's just so competitive, and YouTube was so naturally collaborative that it was the place I wanted to be. It was similar to improv, where improv is like you work together to build this thing.
Welcoming, collaborative, entrepreneurial, as opposed to rejection, which I assume is the audition world, right?
Totally. And on YouTube, everyone was just kind of so grateful that there was an opportunity to be doing this silly stuff. So why don't we all work together? This is unbelievable. And then with that comes just a really true sense of community in a way that I have never really experienced before, outside of joining the pit and performing there. And as an adult, I have learned since that finding community like that is hugely important and really hard to find.
Yes.
So it was truly a golden era at that time.
That's perfectly said. I couldn't agree more. I love everything about that. Okay. So let's fast forward a little bit.
Yeah.
You're having this success and visibility with Daily Grace, and you are getting paid for that work, which is a godsend at that time.
Yeah.
What evolves out of that? You transition away from that to start your own thing. And what year are we talking? What happened there?
That was 2012. So between 2010 and 2012, so much happened. There was this explosion, it felt like, of this creator space. I started to meet creators, which felt like meeting another alien, another fellow alien in the mix of people. I met Hannah Hart and Mamrie Hart, and we started working together, because the other thing that started happening just sort of organically, I guess, was that creators were popping up more in Los Angeles, it seemed, than anywhere else. And so,
or that they were moving there to access each other. Oh, I remembered one other point I wanted to just add in here into the mix was that I observed that YouTube, the company, saw this happening and made real effort to say, our platform could be about a bunch of schlock and ads, but instead we're going to empower creators by creating a revenue model and holding events for them and bringing them together. And that has come and gone, but I don't know. I observe that YouTube made good choices to empower quality content rather than perhaps what we are seeing now with the Facebooks, Instagrams, and TikToks of the world.
Yeah. I remember when Michelle and I could apply for the, what was it called? The
Creator Fund or something?
Yeah.
Something like
the
that?
very first thing where you had to have a certain number of subscribers or make a certain number of hours of content or something. And if you got accepted, you could start getting paid for your videos. And I remember the day we got accepted, we went down the street and we bought a $9 bottle of champagne and we celebrated because we made 50 cents and we couldn't believe it that we were making Google money now.
Yeah,
it was great.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just the idea of it was enough for like a young, hungry creator to be incentivized. And I think that's what their genius was.
Yes.
And that really added to the sense of community over there, that it was like, look, we're all like, no one really took it for granted. I think everyone was just like excited to dive in and really like work together and meet each other and learn how other creators are creating and figure, because everything was just like growing and developing in real time.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
As we were all creating content, like the industry was being like put down brick after brick as we're all walking and getting to the last brick. And then here comes the
mothership is like, we see you.
Yeah.
Good job. Here's a plaque. Here's some revenue.
Yeah. They would give us toys. They give us little like, hey, good job. Do you want to come to this? They started having creator summits where it was like this exclusive invite that if you got invited, it's like the top 100 creators, they measure it in different metrics, come together once a year and spend like 3 days in these rooms with really influential speakers and guests. And we all just like talk to each other. And it's like a little bit of a circle jerk of new media, but really exciting at the same time. And just like you could kind of look around and feel the way that the industry was developing and feel that it was like, oh, at the beginning, at least, like it's us against the world.
Totally.
because
the traditional media industry was flailing and screaming and trying to figure out what it was going to be, while I just loved covering. I'm like, hey, this YouTuber has more views than network television shows. I'm like, that fucking rules. And because all the data was transparent. Like you couldn't see how many people watched an episode of Friends, but you could see how many people watched the Shane Dawson video. Totally.
And so traditional media couldn't argue against public numbers. And so they got really pissed, I think. And they really did not like YouTubers. And there was this huge stigma around the way that we were all just talentless hacks making videos in our basements. And so it was hard. It solidified, at least for me, like the sense of community I felt, the sense of like our little misfit island is really important. And I'm really proud to be here with everyone. And then, it grows to a point where it changes.
Well, yes, we will talk about that. But so community of creators, of course, as you're alluding to, but also let's talk about the community in the audience. Like, where are they gathering? And YouTube comments, I just have been obsessed with that from the early days of like people talking directly to the creators and then the creators responding in future videos, which obviously you and the crew did often. But like before Reddit and Discord and other places, like where was everyone hanging out? Was it just the comments?
We were on Tumblr. I was on Tumblr a lot in the beginning. And actually, Tumblr is where I gathered so many ideas for my videos. I'd be like, on my Tumblr, what do you want me to learn how to do this week? What should I review this week? Cool. And so it created this huge sense of we're making videos together. Me and this audience have a two-way communication. The most incredible thing about the internet was its two-way communication at the time. And the accessibility you could have to content creators. And I knew it because I, again, watched YouTube as my primary form of entertainment. So I was also developing these parasocial, we didn't have that word at the time.
No, but yes, they certainly was.
I was developing that kind of relationship and that eagerness to be part of a community watching a creator that I really enjoyed. And there was just the idea that you could create these communities, which is so, I find, impossible to find now, almost. It was so empowering because you felt like you created a safe space that fostered a certain type of friendship and kinship among its groups or members. And I think there was this kind of quiet through line that creators in the beginning were sort of like these like misfit characters in different ways. They were either like the nerd or the unpopular kid or the quiet kid or whatever it was in their, traditional spaces. So YouTube gave this sort of megaphone to all these weirdos, and it created these like pockets of safe spaces that people, I don't think we knew that's what was happening in real time, but in reflections,
you feel it though.
You could feel it. Yeah, because then when we started to get real opportunities to make things like movies, and we would vlog the behind the scenes of making the movies, the audience really felt like they were with you the entire way. And I think it made the final product feel, regardless of whether it's technically a great film, it made the audience feel special in a certain way.
I love it.
It was very cool.
I love it. We have some questions for you in various dimensions here. Megalith from the Discord says, genuine question. I feel like I should know, but don't. How in the world did you and Mamrie meet? Because he's saying they're like my favorite internet couple that is not a couple, and their friendship goofiness just works so damn well.
The lore, the origin story.
Yes, which I'm sure you've told a million times, but I don't know how, and also Hannah as well.
Yeah, so it's bizarre that Hannah and Mamrie have the same last name. They're not so related.
Weird. Yeah.
Very strange. Mamrie and I met first. We met through a sketch comedy team at the People's Improv Theater. There was a sketch comedy team that was formed and a few members had to leave. So Mamrie and I got selected to fill in. And I remember one of the very first sketches that someone on the team pitched was called Everybody Loves Grace. And it was about how the team loved me and hated Mamrie. And Mamrie and I had not even really introduced ourselves to each other yet. Okay. But we started doing sketches on this team and it was really fun. And I had told her, that I was making these web videos. That was like my job. And she had an idea for a web series. She was a bartender at the time.
Had she been dabbling in any online stuff or was this her first entry point?
She didn't have the equipment and she didn't know how to edit. And so I was like, okay, if you have an idea, do you want to come to my apartment? I have a camera and I can edit it for you. And we shot You Deserve a Drink, Why Dad, her series. And so it became this fun thing where she would come over with booze. We'd film. She'd make a drink. We'd drink. She'd leave the booze as payment for me to edit the video. And it was so fun. And it became this just like exciting sort of thing to do. Because at that time, we were all these like struggling artists trying to make as much shit as we could wherever we could. And then I saw Hannah's video blow up on Huffington Post.
Okay.
And she was rooming with a person I knew that I did improv with at the People's Improv Theater. And I reached out I think Michelle and I reached out because we were like, there's no creators like in New York at the time. And she was living in New York. So like, do you want to get dinner? And we got dinner with her. And she tells the story. Like, I was extremely quiet the whole time at dinner, which I was. I'm a very quiet person. And then she came to my improv show after dinner, and I was like a different person on stage. And so I was like, you have to meet Mamrie. Like, you guys would get along. And then we all kind of hung out and then just started making videos together. And then you see the audience really like loves the collaborative element of it. And so it just became this really fun, easy thing.
Beautiful. The most organic thing ever.
The most organic thing that you got to hang out with your friends and do your job at the same time. Like, how fun.
And laugh and drink. Like, that's
and laugh and drink. And Hannah had a much more business sense about the industry than I did at the time.
What was her, what had blown up for her that you saw her work? What was she doing at that time?
I remember it was like, to get your video featured on Huffington Post was like what you hope for. And like every day I was like, please put a Daily Grace video up there. And I remember hers were getting put up there, My Drunk Kitchen, and that started to blow up. And she like really understood that like, this could be a job, this could be a profession, this is an industry. And so I learned a lot from her about just the seriousness of it, of like because I was working with a manager at the time that was more in the traditional realm. So I kind of had to like introduce the internet and its possibilities to him. And Hannah was a big proponent of that at the time.
Yeah. Well, again, like everyone, including creators, was like, I'm doing this until I get the call from a producer to do a thing. You know, it just wasn't a mature industry yet.
Yeah. And I remember when brand deals started to infiltrate, that became, because you would get paid to post videos, but it was never much to like make a living. Daily Grace started to make a lot of money, which is why I effectively ended my contract, because the My Damn Channel was making a lot more money than I was making
than
for
you
these
were getting
videos.
paid. Yeah.
Yeah.
And just to put a bow on that sort of transition, I remember watching this transition for you or covering it and being like, there's like 3 people, or I could count on one hand the people who could leave behind millions of subscribers on one channel and hop over and start from 0 on another channel. I was like, Phil DeFranco probably could do it. I think he may have done something like that at some point. And then you took that plunge.
Yeah.
And it was like, it's crazy. It was a crazy thing.
Yeah, and I hated it.
It sounds awful.
Well, I hate drama. I hate I want to be just like a carefree artist making my dumb little videos. You had to consider the business side of it at the time. It was just, you couldn't not. And so tried to negotiate. It didn't work out. So the only option was to leave. And it was a huge testament to the power of community at the time.
Right. That's what I mean. Yeah.
You want to believe that people like enjoy you as a performer, but you just never know. And this was like a real firsthand, like, oh, this is like really incredible. And there's like a real connection I have that was also like too much emotionally to process too. Like that at the time you're slowly becoming this like poster child for the independent creator against your will a little bit. And you're also seeing the absolute power of this new industry happen at the same time. It was just like, I think I'm still processing things from 13 years ago.
No doubt. Because I think at the time we were observing like, oh, YouTube is big and people are the audience for YouTube, the website, is growing. And so there are many people and young people watching YouTube.
Yeah.
And then there are buckets of audience that are like, no, I'm here to watch Grace or Phil or Wheezy Waiter or whatever. Yeah. And they followed you. They moved with you, which was extraordinary at the time.
And the incredible thing, and I've said this a lot when I talk about this, but it's just like true, and I am so thankful that I didn't want to and couldn't legally talk really transparently about what was happening at the time, nor did I want to. I just wanted to continue making funny videos. I didn't want to get caught up in drama. This is also before we were all obsessed with drama on YouTube the way we are now.
Yeah, sure.
Thankfully, to a degree. Yeah. And so other creators, especially the Green brothers, John and Hank, took it upon themselves to write, I remember, blog posts and different things that explained to people that wanted answers, like more of what was going on in terms that they could understand. And I was so thankful to have them support me in that way.
Were they involved with my damn channel too?
No, they were just
understanding
they're just being the genuinely lovely Green brothers that they are. But I think also, obviously, them being creators of things like VidCon, they were understanding in real time the way this industry and this community was growing. And I think this was a big, like a moment in seeing the connection creators have with their audiences tested in real time. And so they were all aboard the, independent creatorship, as we all were at the time. So it was, a crazy transition, but made a much smoother transition by the support of other creators and the community.
Beautiful. One more question before we go to break. Speaking of that audience community, specific comments or messages that have stayed with you, even from back then, or maybe that you've learned that you've received more recently. Usually, it's like a group of messages. But if there's a specific thing that someone has said to you on the internet that you will never forget, is there anything that comes to mind?
There's not one specific. I mean, now there's a lot of really powerful messages related to cancer and breast cancer. But before, which it's interesting because before that, people would say a lot to me and Mamrie and Hannah, like, your videos really helped me through a dark time a lot. And I, would just be like, oh, okay, that's great. Like, I'm so glad that, I could be helpful in some way. And I don't think I really understood it until I got breast cancer and I went through a really hard time and I started watching YouTube videos and I was like, this is really nice. It's really nice that these creators are making this content for me. And so it really just brought a lot more gratitude and appreciation and understanding for where those comments were coming from. And so those always, meant a lot.
It's beautiful. Beautiful full circle moment. We have to take a break. Before we take a break, we must do our court-mandated trivia segment where I try to stump every single guest with a multiple-choice trivia question. I'm trying something new here with Grace. This might get a little messy. It's a little complicated. Okay. Usually I say, what happened here? Is it choice A, B, or C? But today we're going to talk about the first YouTubers to reach specific milestones and what you're going to do. Remember those worksheets in elementary school where you would draw lines from the thing on the left to the thing on the right to kind of connect which ones go to which, right? Yeah. I'm going to give you the 4 milestones and the date at which they cross. They're all subscriber milestones. Then I'm going to give you 4 of the YouTube channels. So all of these are lined up with one of the choices. Okay. You're going to try to connect them. And I'll keep track of your thought process here. You don't have to write it down. This might get messy, but we're going to do our best here. Are you prepared? Okay,
I'm ready. I am getting a pen and paper.
Get a pen and paper. This is probably the best. Okay. These are the markers, and we will talk about them as we go. The first YouTube channel to reach 1,000 subscribers, that took 2 months, and it happened on November 5th, 2005. I'll just give you the year here. Okay. The first YouTube channel to reach 20,000 subscribers, it took this channel 13 days, and it happened August 18th, 2006. Number 3 is the first YouTube channel to reach 50,000 subscribers, which took 6 months and happened in October of 2006. Okay. And then many years later, the first YouTube channel to reach 1 million subscribers. It took them 2 years and it happened April 2009. Okay, so just to recap for Grace and listeners, we're saying 1,000 subscribers, 20,000, 50,000, and 1 million. So you're going to try to match these YouTube channels with the milestones.
Okay.
First one, Lonely Girl 15, which I know you know. This was a series that was a vlog series. A teenager named Bree Avery, who everyone thought was like a real person vlogging about her life. Turns out it was all fake, and it was like not a social experiment, but it was like narrative fiction.
Yeah.
And I think the internet was both horrified and like, whoa, that was cool.
Yeah. Didn't know how to feel exactly.
So that's Lonely Girl 15. The second one, which you mentioned earlier, Smosh, American sketch comedy improv channel founded by Ian Andrew Heckox and Daniel Anthony Padilla. Third one, which I had not known about, is Geriatric 1927. Are you familiar with this channel at all?
No.
Peter Oakley, a British gentleman who was, I guess, in his 80s. He passed away in 2014, but he would vlog about his experiences as an older guy, and he would talk about his personal time in the war. I suppose that's World War II, and the state of YouTube. So he would vlog about being old and war and what's going on YouTube. And so he was very popular at the time. And then the fourth channel is Fred Figglehorn, which was Lucas Allen. I don't know how you say his last name. Cruikshank. Thank you very much.
I think something like that. I mean, talk about his trajectory from internet character to real human vlogger. That should be studied as well.
I don't know what he's up to now, but I remember just being in awe of his talent and character work.
I feel like he'd be perfect for this podcast. Right, I think he's vlogging as himself now. That's
great. Fred Figglehorn, we know you're listening. Please get in touch. Okay, so where do you've written everything down.
I've written everything down.
What do you think? All
right. Now, without you giving me any of the channels, I was like, Smosh is going to be in here somewhere.
Okay.
And Fred was going to be in here. I thought Annoying Orange was going to be one of them.
Yes.
But okay, I'm going to go with million subs. I think as Smosh or Fred. I'm going to say that's Smosh. Okay, so do I put them all together first and then we see what's right and wrong?
It's your choice. It's your choice. I'm going to lock your answers in as you go.
Okay, I'm going to say Smosh hit 1 million subs first.
Okay.
I'm going to say... In 2009. I'm going to say... I'm going to say... Fred hit 50,000 in 6 months in 2006.
Okay.
I'm going to say... Lonely Girl hit 20,000 in 2006 in 13 days. And that Geriatric... Peter Oakley hit 1,000 subs in 2 months.
I love the thinking. You were on the scene, you were living through this, and you were studying the culture very closely. So these are educated guesses. I
Yeah. But I'm overthinking it, so these answers could change at any time. But
we will find out. They're locked in, and we will find out if Grace got these answers correct right after the break. It's time to thank the people who make this show possible over on patreon.com/influencepod. They are the folks who contribute at the producer level or higher. And those people are Robert Tortorelli, Jolene Jula, Evan, Sam, and of course, the legacy tier members who get the little extra special sauce on the announcements here. They are Duran, Bowie Barks, Dominic Kerr, and of course, William. Thank you everyone who supports the show at any tier, including the free tier. Get your podcast algorithm free over on patreon.com/influencepod. And now it is time to see if Grace matched all those YouTube milestones to the correct channels. Who got how many subscribers at what time and at what period in YouTube history? We have 4 milestones here: 1,000 subscribers, 20,000, 50,000, and 1 million. Grace has locked in her answers, but I do give guests a chance to reconsider after the 2.5-hour break that we just took. Have you had second thoughts?
No, I'm going to just go with it.
She's locking them in. Okay, so Grace said Geriatric 1927 reached 1,000 subscribers in 2005, Lonely Girl 15 reached 20,000 in 2006. Fred 50,000 in 06 as well, and Smosh 1 million subscribers in 09. Are you prepared for the answers?
I am ready.
Okay. Here is the answer key. 1,000 subscribers was Smosh.
Damn.
Smosh was the first channel in YouTube history to reach 1,000 subscribers in 2005, which is like
crazy.
A few months after YouTube launched.
Yeah, like that must have been every single member of YouTube was subscribed to their channel.
Right. Smosh, it was like people uploading home movies and Smosh. That was all you had.
Exactly.
So that was the first one.
Okay.
To 20,000 subs, Geriatric 1927.
Damn.
According to these charts, his peak was in mid-August of 2006 when he was the most subscribed on YouTube and had 1/3 more subscribers than the second place person. And his popularity made him world famous. I've never heard of this guy, but he seems delightful.
Amazing.
Rest in power. 50,000 was Lonely Girl 15. 50,000 subs in
6 months?
2006.
Yeah, that's
wild.
Crazy. That's basically, what 1 million was eventually.
Totally. And finally, you flirted with this, but Fred Figglehorn was the first YouTube channel to reach 1 million subscribers in April of 2009.
Damn.
So I'm sorry to say, Grace has whiffed. She got everything wrong.
I have fantastically failed. Here, I'll take it. I thank you. In hindsight now, I see why you were giving me an opportunity to change my answers. I appreciate it.
But her reasoning was sound. She was very close. She understood the game.
Yeah. I mean, congratulations to all of those accounts.
And to all the winners who are not you.
Yes.
I hadn't jotted this down originally, but before we got on the call, I spoke about a mutual friend who just called me right before the podcast, and we were talking a little bit about VidCon, and so memories from VidCon.
Whew. I'm going back this year as a member of the first class of VidCon honorees, I guess.
Great.
Yeah, the VidCon Hall of Fame, I guess.
Cool.
I haven't been in 8 or 9 years, so it'll be quite a time warp.
Has VidCon been back since the pandemic? They did at least one, or is this the first one back?
I'm not sure. I think I stopped going in 2017, so I haven't really kept up. I know it's owned by TikTok now, so it's a bit of a different convention.
I did not realize that. Okay.
Yeah.
But let's go back to the golden days.
2010-ish,
2012-ish. What was VidCon like back then?
The most fun ever. Like I remember the first VidCon I ever went to, I went in 2010, I think. I got a guest pass, flew out here with my friend Michelle. Mm-hmm. And it was still happening in Los Angeles in a hotel. It wasn't moved down to Anaheim yet.
Okay.
And I remember just sitting in the lobby of the hotel and like seeing creators walk by and meeting people and just like hanging out all day, going to the hotel bar at night. I wasn't even friends with Hannah at the time. I remember seeing Hannah talking to Justine at the bar and being like, this is crazy.
They're in the same place.
They're on like, here comes Harley. Epic Mealtime just comes in drunk as a skunk. And I was like, they're just like they are on the internet. It's crazy. And then
don't name names, but like, do you ever meet people who are amazing on the internet? They're just genius, brilliant people. And then you meet them in real life and they're the most awkward train wreck in the world?
Yeah, there was a lot. I think the par for the course was anticipating that people were much more socially awkward offline than they were online. And so it was always delightful when you met someone that was exactly the way they are online.
Yeah, great.
But there was, the nice thing was because there was such a sense of camaraderie, like I felt like you could walk up to someone you had never actually met before and be like, hi, we know each other.
I know everything about your life. I've watched everything you've done.
Yeah. And so I think 2011 is when I got invited as a creator for the first time.
Okay.
And it was just so fun and carefree and it was like, spring break for nerds. Like it was, everyone got to hang out.
Perfect.
There was like Fruit Loop vodka being passed around like crazy. People are like like Tay Zonde's like dancing and doing the worm, and everyone's just like, yes.
Previous guest on this program. Shout out to Tay.
Hell yeah. It was just like you were allowed to be carefree and free, and really like it was the first time I had been in a space with that many people that all loved YouTube as much as I did.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to meet creators and hear the way that creators were evolving their businesses, the way that they were developing their businesses, the way that people were succeeding and failing in different ways. So it was, I looked forward to it in those golden years, like every year, but I was exhausted after it every year. And then it just got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And it felt, I think, a little bit more and more overwhelming every year. And you sort of like phase out of it. But those golden years were just like remarkable.
Yeah. It sounds fantastic.
And thank God we didn't have, I think about this often lately, thank God we didn't have like Snapchat and Instagram story the way that we do now, because there wasn't as much documentation in those first years as there could have been, I guess, of everyone partying. But it was, I think that
much
too
of the
made
debauchery has been lost to time, which is maybe for the best.
Yeah. There was only vlogging. That was all that was happening. It was for the best.
Wasted Zebra in the Discord asks, what is your favorite medium to work in since you've done books, YouTube, vlogs, shows, stage, podcasts? If you had to pick a favorite.
I don't know if I have a favorite. I like fixate on one that I really like from time to time. Right now, I'm actually really into performing live on stage.
Yes. You have been touring?
Yeah. I developed my first hour of comedy. And I've never done anything like this before by myself. I've performed in a lot of stage stuff with Mamrie and Hannah. But this is all mine. Called Let Me Get This Off My Chest, and it's about my experience with breast cancer. And I'm having the best time doing it. And I forget that I actually like started in live theater technically. And so it feels really nice to be going back into spaces and performing with people in the room with you. It feels like a nice little departure from the internet for a bit.
Yes. This is 1 hour of stand-up?
Yep.
Beautiful.
I'm going to Edinburgh Fringe this year with it, so going to put it to the test out there. But I'm really excited.
Best of luck.
Thank you.
Speaking of cancer.
Yeah, big C.
Do you recommend it?
I don't. I don't. Okay. I know it's very, very popular right now.
It's popular. It's so hot.
It's like every hot celeb is getting it, but I think you should hold off if you can.
If you can, yeah.
At least until we get funding reinstated for the research. It's not ideal. Not ideal. But I will say, if you're going to get cancer, get it a month after Hank Green gets cancer, so that you can watch the way he has his cancer.
I thought you were going to say that he stole your thunder.
No.
He got to make all this great cancer content, and you didn't get to like ride that train.
Once again, Hank Green paved the way for Grace Helbig. No, he blazed the trail. Again, I drafted off of something Hank Green did, and I just did it how I saw fit. It was very bizarre and kismet timing that his diagnosis happened and then mine did. So very strange, but a wild time.
So from what I read and from what I understand from your content, cancer is never fun, and sounds like a very harrowing time. But it was a type of breast cancer that was very treatable, and there was a clear path forward. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I got very, very lucky in a lot of ways. That I had triple positive breast cancer, which has a very clear treatment plan. A friend of mine, fellow content creator Taryn Southern, had actually had the exact same type of breast cancer years earlier. So she was like invaluable in the help that she had offered to me. And so thankfully I knew exactly what I like had to do for treatment, and I didn't have to get second opinions or try different clinical things, trials and stuff like that. But this thing that sucks is it's still breast cancer. So it still kind of sucks. But I think it went as best as it possibly could for me, which I'm very thankful for.
And you are currently in remission?
Currently in remission.
At this time. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Hey.
Yeah.
How did the diagnosis and treatment and the emotions of it affect your creative life and your content? I've seen some of it, but like, how did you approach that?
Well, I had actually kind of taken a break. I got really, really burnt out on making content probably around 2014, 15, but wouldn't let myself acknowledge the burnout till like 2017, 18. And it was also, the interesting thing about the development of the industry is that we got to see the development of like the negative byproducts of the industry in real time. Totally. I remember going to these, the creator summits every year. And I remember like the first year that they started actually focusing on burnout because it became an issue for creators, and people were having little mentee bees in all different directions. And YouTube was trying to figure out how to support their creators through something that they had never sort of anticipated before.
Because tell me if you agree, the economics of the business and the industry are so frenetic, which is like, I got to put out a video every week. I got to put out a video every day, or I don't pay my rent. And that pace is simply not sustainable. And y'all learned it the hard way.
There's so much to talk about in that realm because the internet affords you this incredible opportunity of accessibility. But with that, there's no boundaries. Right. You have to create your own boundaries. And a lot of creators, myself included, learn the hard way that you get to a place physically and emotionally where you're just you don't recognize yourself because there's no backstage to making internet content, right? Which I've heard in different books that analyze it. So you really have to put in the safety nets for yourself. And if you don't, you can get really burnt out. And there's also, at least for me, in the creation of Daily Grace, which was very authentic to me, it's me making jokes as myself in the tone and style I want, but it also sort of crystallized this internet persona that I felt very trapped in after a while. And you have your dream job in this dream industry, and you're so privileged in so many ways. So you discount the negative feelings and you tuck them away because how could you complain about something that people are dying for, And so I really shoved it down for a long time. And then pandemic kind of hit and I just was so depressed and burnt out that I took a break. I went to graduate school. I studied, I studied psychology, depth psychology. I did this.
Wait, what is that? Depth psychology?
DEPTH, depth psychology, and creativity. So I did this program. C.G. Jung is kind of like there's Freud and Jung, and Jung studied the unconscious and learned a lot about just like the psychic wholeness, hero's journey, things like that. All this I talk about in my live show too. But I got huge perspective because I was in a cohort with artists and academics that didn't have Instagram and were alive in the world. And I just like could not see that for myself at the time. So the experience and the perspective away from the internet was invaluable. And so I had at that time had already kind of taken a break from making internet stuff. And as I graduated, I was slowly trying to figure out like how I wanted to approach creativity again. And then I got breast cancer like a week after graduating. I got breast cancer.
I did not realize this break coincided with this.
Yeah.
Diagnosis was 2022,
2023.
Okay.
And you go through that decision of, well, I can just keep this to myself or I can tell everyone. and it felt like way more work to keep it to myself because I was still podcasting with Mamrie every week.
Right.
I was still making content here and there. And so I was like, I just want to be transparent. And it ended up, I made YouTube and I started making YouTube videos through the process of it.
Mm-hmm.
And it like reinvigorated this enjoyment in making videos that I hadn't had in a while. I felt like I was really being my most authentic self on the internet. And I hadn't felt like that in years of just getting into this rhythm of bits,
Totally.
jokes.
Yep.
And it was really helpful because being sick is very lonely. And so selfishly, I just wanted to be able to still feel connected to the world. And had amazing support from audience and just support in ways of like watching the videos, but also support in like giving me tips on what I need to buy to, you know, help with this nausea or help with this side effect, stuff that I wouldn't have found on my own. So really, really helpful, really impactful. And now and then when I kind of finished treatment, I dabbled in making YouTube videos again. I just like did it. I couldn't figure out a rhythm for it. So I've taken a break from that for a little bit, but now I'm in that cycle where I've taken a break for so long that I'm itching to get back into doing it again.
Yep.
I just got to figure out what makes the most sense for me and what is, I feel, the right and necessary or the best way for me to share and create.
Yeah,
constant process.
You're on the verge of reinventing yourself yet again.
Yeah, because I guess you don't finish cancer treatment and you're like, ba-dum-bum, ta-da.
Back to the grind.
I'm back to my old self, or I'm new and improved. You're just like, what the fuck was that?
I'm imagining the entire world suffering for 3 years during a pandemic.
Yeah.
And then the pandemic is like, vaccines are out and pandemic's winding down. And then you come out of your hole and you're like, and I'm immunocompromised. Back in the hole.
Guess what? I'm a person. I'm not a cartoon. I can get sick and it's wild.
Yeah.
But I think it's really helpful in a way because like early detection really saved me in a lot of ways. And
was it a regular appointment and then they caught it?
It was there was a lump in my left breast that I ignored for a bit because I was like, nothing. I don't feel bad. And then went to my doctor, went to my gynecologist, and then even my gynecologist and my surgical doctor say now in hindsight, like, yeah, we really thought it wasn't going to be anything. I was like, really? Oh, okay. So it surprised everyone that the biopsy was cancer. But I think there's an age group of women specifically that are under 40 that aren't being encouraged to get mammograms or to check themselves. And that age group, the diagnosis numbers are skyrocketing more than they ever have. So I feel very purpose-driven in sharing that message with people. Right. And so it's really great to create when you have a clear sense of purpose, you know?
Yeah, you are now an advocate and you are helping people in a new way, and it's important.
Yeah, and it's like very empowering in a lot of ways. It's very cool.
A listener named Allison asks, if you could be doing anything besides content creation, what would it be? And then she has a follow-up question, but let's start there.
Okay. If I could be doing anything besides content creation.
Like, you're a creative person, so I don't think you could ever not be that. But if, let's say, the internet didn't exist or you had to find another way, what would be your passion? Where would you go?
That's a really good question. I think I'd always be making stuff. I feel like it'd be maybe some sort of travel or something. I got really into during cancer treatment. I thought I would get into either Disney or Jesus, and I did not get into either of them. And instead, I got into Disney vloggers. And watching these people live their best lives, like going to theme parks and vlogging it, is really like a joy to watch. Just watching people in the lane of their passion doing like making their job their passion is very cool. So something along those lines would be great. I got into Mamrie and I have entered the table setting competition this year at the OC Fair.
Okay.
There's a documentary called Set, highly recommend for people to watch, that's all about the tablescaping, competitive table setting that happens at the OC Fair every year. I went last year to see the tables in person for the first time.
I want to subscribe to the YouTubers who are doing this and speed running it and all this stuff.
Well, we want to document our experience. We've entered for the first time this year.
That's so funny.
Yeah, and so I think that might be a real niche for me to get into. Like little fair competitions might be where you'd find me if I wasn't on the internet.
Godspeed.
Thank you.
Follow-up question from Allison. Sorry, you don't. Do you have kids? You don't have kids.
No. Okay. No kids.
Allison asked, would she want any future kids of hers to be YouTubers? So hypothetically, if you were to have kids, would you encourage or that? You know what I mean?
This is a very heavy question, but also a great question because I think it's really important to think about. And one of the things that concerns me about having children is just, you have kids, plural,
I do, yeah. We have two.
That the technology is so prevalent now. Like the way that I kind of squirreled my way secretly on the internet without my parents knowing for years, like now is crazy. Mm-hmm. So I talked to a lot of other creators and how they, manage their kids with internets and phones, and it seems really, really difficult.
Yeah.
And so
it's difficult if you are not fluent in the I just gave a talk at my kid's school about this to other parents, and
what are your thoughts?
I'm not afraid of the internet, but I'm afraid of the business model of social media.
Yeah.
For kids, the algorithmic for-profit social media. I think social media is awesome, but the way in which algorithms push content into everyone's eyeballs that they did not choose to watch is where the problem happens, especially for children's brains that are not developed.
Absolutely. I think that's a huge concern. And then also psychologically, the biggest concern is like the development of self, like how... I know that I had like a real dissociative kind of phase because I had been perceiving myself through screens for over a decade. And I was experiencing myself from an audience's point of view, more from like within me. And I didn't know, I had become so over-identified with the Daily Grace persona that I didn't know who I was if I wasn't making internet videos. I didn't know what I liked to do. I didn't know who I wanted to hang out with. I didn't know like what my purpose was in the world. I was like, and I see this happen with a lot of creators, that their entire self-worth and measure of validation comes externally from likes and comments. And it's impossible. It's very difficult because these like feedback loops get programmed sort of unconsciously in us, the way we see likes and engagement on and it's something I still deal with, is like having to consciously use my social media versus unconsciously. And so I worry about
intentional usage versus passive usage as something I think about a lot.
I worry about that for children. I worry about, I struggled with disordered eating when I was younger, and I didn't have the internet the way it is now. So I worry about that for young people, that their self-image is distorted because of the filters that are so effortlessly available to everything online. So
and the algorithms. I say that this show, in a previous incarnation, we had a young woman on who is now an adult, but when she was a kid, she searched on Instagram for how to lose 5 pounds, and within an hour, she was in an anorexia wormhole in terms of content. That there was an entire community of anorexia influencers that she did not choose to view, but were in her feed, and she developed an eating disorder, and that was real bad.
I've seen that on TikTok a bit now, of people discussing those types of algorithm like slippery slopes, and it's really tough. And so if I had a kid, it would be a primary concern too. Don't get me started on family vlogging, because
right. I know that's a whole other. We don't have time for that.
But it would definitely be a primary concern. But I have to remind myself there's a lot of, good things that come with the ability to express yourself on social media, and the ability to create art in whatever form that works for you. So there is good. It's just, got to be aware of the bad.
Couldn't say it better myself. Before I let you go, are you coming to New York to do this stand-up show, or did you already come through?
I have not come through. There will be fall dates announced soon. I'm basically going to Edinburgh Fringe for the month of August. I don't know when this episode goes up.
Probably a couple weeks from now.
Okay, well, I'll be in Chicago on June 14th. I don't know if this will go up before.
It will be up well before then. So if you're in the Chicago area and you want to see Grace's set.
I'm in Chicago on June 14th. I'm in St. Louis on June 27th. And I'm in Atlanta on July 7th doing my show. And then there'll be more dates in the fall after Edinburgh, after I trial by fire, see what happens there.
Best of luck. You have the hour, but as I understand it, it evolves, and you're working on it constantly as you're going around and touring with it. So that seems like hard work, but it's very rewarding, I presume.
It's very cool. Yeah.
If listeners if listeners don't already know you and are not already subscribed to you, which is probably all 7 of them that are not already subscribed, where should people go? Is it just directly to the YouTube channel, Linktree? Where do you live?
I'm mostly on Instagram these days, at Grace Helbig on Instagram, or at Grace Helbig on YouTube, because I am dabbling with vlogging my experience over in Edinburgh. So if you want to see that might be over there. So just at Grace Helbig on YouTube.
Beautiful. Grace Helbig, thank you for being my guest. It's a pleasure to catch up with you, and I'm glad you're doing well.
Thanks, Matt. This was really great. And now, of course, I could just spend hours talking about how the industry has changed and evolved.
Let's do a follow-up. We'll come back from Edinburgh and let's do a part 2.
Perfect. That sounds great.
Love talking about the golden days of YouTube almost as much as Grace does. Thank you so much to Grace Helbig for being my guest. It was a delightful conversation, as expected, and I really enjoy the work that I've always been a fan, and really enjoying the work that she is doing these days. I look forward to seeing that stand-up set if she does get around to our neck of the woods here, or, I don't know, maybe there's a Netflix special in the future. Come on. Get it on the streamers, on the YouTubes. I want to see the comedy. And if you've enjoyed the show, please leave a rating or review on your podcast platform of choice. That certainly helps, not the algorithms, but I think when people find the show, they're like, hey, people like this show. They enjoy it. So that tickle those buttons if you can. Links to all the social medias, to Grace's projects, to Grace's Instagram and YouTube are in the doobly-doo. And of course, I must remind you, it is imperative that you please be kind and rewind your podcast after listening, and I will speak with you in 1 week's time.